Welcome to Soni Irabor Live. Well, April 14, 2014 marked the first day that the Chibok girls were abducted, and 5 years down the line, 112 of them are still missing. We've also had the Dapchi girls that came on a few years later, and many more. But the truth is, whether we like it or not, we know that people are hurting. We know that children that were born of parents are no more with their parents, and we don't even know if they will ever come back. But we know there's also a concerted effort that those who have been fighting for the release of the Chibok girls and the Dapchi girls now have consistently maintained and sustained the demand for the release of those girls. Boko Haram is a terrorist group, but Boko Haram has held on so steadfastly to whether or not Nigeria can remain better than it ever was. So again, can the problem be resolved? Will Boko Haram relax its anger or whatever it is that's making them behave the way they are? The truth is, in the estimation of the right-thinking members of the society, they are not accepted, their behavior is not acceptable, and they are rated and tagged a terrorist group by the whole world. Somewhere down the line, the Nigerian government has to face the reality of the fact that whether we like it or not, this country must move in the direction of peace, progress, and ensured and assured security. Well, welcome to Soni Irabor Live. Today, we have focused on women for peace and justice in Nigeria. They've been battling for how we can release those girls. They call it, they tagged it, Bring Back Our Girls. And the 50th anniversary of the abduction of the Chibok girls is the focal point of the discussion today, and really, what future for the average Nigerian child? The child is a symbol of the future, because if you don't have children, you have no future. Because you come, you grow, and then your time comes and it goes. And that's where it ends. But when you have people to take over from you, then there is hope for Nigeria. There's hope for the family. There's hope for our communities. So we therefore must live to protect the interests of one and all. Even those Boko Haram people, they bear children, don't they? And I'm sure, too, that they want something good for themselves. So whatever the cause they're pursuing, if we do not discuss, come on to the table and map our way forward, nothing can get done. So therefore, President Muhammadu Buhari has a challenge ahead of him. Nigerians have a bigger challenge ahead of them. The leaders and the led, they all have that big problem ahead of us. Because our children are doing well abroad, and so in the US, in the UK, they keep them because they're good. Those who are here, well, they try to do well, but it's their level playing field so that they don't go away, the brain drain. We know some children go through the Sahara Desert, and then they drown in the Mediterranean, all for the sake of looking for the greener pastures. This monologue ends now as I welcome Ier Jonathan, who has been one of those fighting for the release of the Chibok girls, alongside other young men and women who have been tied down, their freedoms denied, and all of that. Well, welcome to the program.
Thank you.
I don't want to get too emotional, but the truth is, it's not an easy task. So, what was the celebration today? You had a celebration.
There have been a series of activities basically to mark, bring back the anniversary of this really sad episode in Nigeria's history, where 276 girls were abducted, 57 escaped within 24 hours, and 107, I believe, were eventually found and released. Some of them, their release was negotiated. Some had been rescued when soldiers were able to get to some of the places where they were held captive.
Yes.
But we still have 112 of these girls in captivity. And this, the 5th anniversary just really is reiterating the need for the Nigerian government to live up to its primary responsibility as stated in the Nigerian Constitution, that they're responsible for the security and welfare of the Nigerian people. And so the demand, bring back our girls, is a call to the Nigerian government, do your job, bring back our children, protect our children, keep them safe, keep the Nigerian people safe. So there have been a series of activities that have kicked off on Friday.
That's 2 days ago, yeah?
2 days ago
Okay.
in Lagos, in Abuja. There are some other activities happening around the world as well. So this evening, for example, there was an interfaith vigil at Falomo Roundabout in Ikoyi. There was also a lecture in Abuja
Lagos, by the way,
this afternoon. Ikoyi in Lagos, by the way. And this night, there's going to be a night vigil in New York in front of the Nigerian embassy, I believe, from 10 p.m. New York time till 10 a.m. tomorrow.
Wow.
To mark this. Also happening today, or had happened today, there was a talk at the Africa Center in London, looking at Bring Back Our Girls and Black Lives Matter, and looking at the online search and online campaigns for offline justice. So there are quite a number of activities that mark this. And I think it's very, very important, because sometimes, you know, these things happen, and we see a lot of things happening in Nigeria. I mean, this particular one, Bring Back Our Girls, is something that galvanized the entire world. Unfortunately, the Nigerian government's response was not what it should have been. It was lackluster. Earlier today, we were making the point, and Bring Back Our Girls had released a statement, I think on Friday, making the point that if these children were the children of rich people in Nigeria, they would have been found by now. And, you know, challenging the president and all people in those positions to say, if these were your daughters, they would not have been in captivity for 5 years. And making the point also that because they're the children of poor people, the sort of attention that has been given to it has not been given to it. So this is just a reminder to us that this is still a major issue. It's not going to go away. Kudos to the Bring Back Our Girls family across Nigeria, across the world, because they've kept this up. They've really, really kept this up. Kudos, of course, to the security forces who have really pushed. They've been pushing, you know, with mixed results, definitely. But there's quite a lot of work still to be done. Part of also what we not just remember the Chibok girls. We remember Dapchi last year, the abduction of the Dapchi girls, and Leah Sharibu. Some were released, and Leah Sharibu has been in captivity.
That's the one that refused
to give up her faith. Because of that. She was held back in captivity. We also remember, of course, those who were killed, the 2 aid workers from Red Cross that were killed, brutally executed after being kidnapped. And then there's one in unit, but there's a UNICEF worker, Alice Ngada, I think. Yes, Alice Ngada,
alive, is she?
who is still in captivity.
Okay.
So, you know,
the other two, where were they from?
The other two, they were Red Cross,
Okay.
and they were executed by ISWA. So there's a lot that, you know, these are things just to say we remember. And of course, the group is calling for certain actions. The Bring Back Our Girls group is calling for certain actions, which they're galvanizing Nigerians to call for these actions, because we cannot stay quiet.
But there's something that's a bit at stake here. If the military, for example, if the Nigerian government decides to use force or intelligence, and it doesn't turn out the way it's expected to, will they be blamed, or will it be because they don't want to risk more lives being lost? It's a delicate issue I'm seeing
Well, the
here.
truth is, to be honest with you, I think these are questions that we can ask, but they're 5 years late. You know, I'm not a security expert by any chance or by any stretch of the imagination, but it is knowledge for people who bother to do the research that when someone goes missing, the first 24 hours are critical.
Yeah.
After that, you begin to lose track of, you know, the people who abducted them can get really far. And unfortunately, what was happening in the first 24 hours, they were in denial, our government was in denial, what was going on. So all these questions around whether the use of force and not the use of force, obviously, I think along the way there was a failure of intelligence. at some point, it was people knew, or we'd heard reports that they were in Sambisa Forest. You know, so there's the security experts know better, and I think the Nigerian government owes Nigerians a better explanation as to how come we have failed to secure the release of these girls.
These 5 years.
This is 5 years, and beyond that, we failed to bring to justice the funders of this group, the funders of this terrorist.
This whole
of course, there must be. I mean, for them to be able to, it's a huge operation.
Yeah.
How do you take 276? Where do you keep them? How are you feeding them? There must be some conduit, some people who are providing
maybe
the food
leakages
and all of that. So there are those things. I mean, of course, there are also stories we've heard severally, you know, stories around the former national security advisor who is in, you know, undergoing trial on diversion of monies or whatever that was meant for fighting Boko Haram and some of these things. So these are things we're not unaware of. You know, the question is, who are the masterminds behind this thing? This is what the Nigerian government needs to tell us.
I think another question too that should add
we need to
that.
actually
Yes.
yeah, get to
The
the
question
bottom
that
of
I
this.
should add to that question you just asked is there was a time there was concerted international effort put together. Cameroon, Chad,
Yeah.
Nigeria, I think. I'm not sure Niger was involved, but there were countries that were involved, and the United States even offered to help. So are we saying, therefore, that with all of these international, you know, cooperation, that effort did not come well enough?
Well, I think, again, we can't say because we don't have the full information. What we do know, of course, we know there's a force that is looking at Chad and, you know, just the different countries that border, you know, that are at risk from these terrorist activities. And they have a joint force. We're not quite sure where that is, because at one point we were hearing that the joint force it wasn't disbanded necessarily, but there were some challenges and they were trying to. So we don't really have that full information. You know, these are some of the things that as the Nigerian government should be briefing the Nigerian people. That is one. It is a real shame that the Chibok girls affair, it was not an election affair. And that's where we, the Nigerian people, failed these girls. That is one thing. The other thing is that there were several people involved. I remember even there was either an Australian missionary or some who had been involved in this and written some things about it, and so many others. So there was quite a collective effort.
Okay, we'll just take a short break, and when we get back, we'll dig deeper into this question and then move forward. Is there any hope for the Chibok girls, the remaining Chibok and Dapchi girls?
Make your event a memorable one with captivating and well-organized event center at Lagos Television's prestigious Blue Roof with a capacity of more than 3,000 seats and a fully air-conditioned 750 seats combo hall capacity. Suitable for annual general meetings, government functions, exhibitions, religious activities, wedding ceremonies, burials, musical show, and many more in a well-secure environment. Spacious car park, uninterrupted power supply, and impeccable facilities. Take advantage of all of these at affordable rates.
For inquiries, please call 0808 252 8742 or 0802 282 9898.
Lagos Television Event Center, a tasteful event center for your delight.
I've often asked myself, if you're a father, you have children, would you like anything terrible to happen to any of yours? Of course not. Same with mothers. So, when a child that represents your future is now the focal point of threat, disaster, or some kind of kidnapping, abduction, as we're seeing and experiencing, you begin to wonder, is there hope for Nigeria? We blame leadership all the time. What about those of us? These followers of we call ourselves. What about us? What can we do? What should we do? What do we do? When we see things that are wrong, why don't you call is that the 911? The emergency number? In Lagos, you have 112 and 767. Do you call and do you give detailed reports of what is happening? So how Nigerian and how patriotic a Nigerian can you be? Let's discuss that briefly. Being a patriotic Nigerian. Do you think Nigerians are we in denial?
We're in denial about many things. I think we're in denial of, how serious the situation is with our security. We're in denial about the risk and the threats that we're facing. Of course, we saw this very clearly when the affair started, when the Chibok girls were abducted. And for some people, their first reaction was, it's not possible, it's a lie. We've seen this also when we would, the Bring Back Our Girls family makes certain demands. One of the demands they're making is justice for the slain, resettlement of those who have been displaced by the violence in the Northeast, in different places. And we also saw denial in 2014 of these attacks, and that the fact that there were people who were internally displaced. Even today in Lagos, we see our children begging on the streets. We see people,
many of them,
obviously from the Northeast, they're wearing hijabs. They didn't just wake up and show up, and we're still in denial. We like to say that they're not IDPs. In some quarters, people will say they're economic migrants,
some kind of semantic.
So, there are these discussions, but the truth is, and I was talking to somebody at a conference recently on resilience and planning for long-term, for a better Lagos. And the person said to me, one day Lagos will have to stop being in denial about the effect of the conflict across the country on Lagos. Because there's a huge influx of people rushing into Lagos. Now, what I find very interesting, because of course, in the organization I work with, we work with displaced people. And we work with them in two states primarily, Lagos and Benue. And it's amazing to me, I talk to different people and they say, are there displaced people in Lagos? Why did they come that far from Borno? I'm like, hello.
Where did they come that far?
No, seriously, they ask me those kinds of questions. And I'm like, if you can see on TV, Syrians fleeing as far as Germany and England, why do you think Lagos is a relatively
Nigerians
safe...
are fleeing across the Sahara.
It's a matter of jumping on a trailer and running into Lagos. That's what they were doing. As Boko Haram was attacking their villages, they would scatter in the bushes. If they got on an expressway, they saw a trailer going anywhere, first get me out of this war zone. That's what any rational human being would do. So when we see people begging on the streets, a lot of the Okada riders, a lot of the Keke Marua people, we wonder why there's such a proliferation.
But that's going to affect the
and
orderly
of course,
status.
now think about this.
Yes.
Of course, there's more pressure on public services.
Yes.
There's more pressure on so many things. And that is why there's so many children, so many women with children begging on the streets. We see them every single day. And yet we're like, oh, this displacement, this conflict is far away. It's not. Its effects are not far away. They're being
what do you
very
expect the
strongly
government
felt.
to do?
I think first and foremost, what the government should do is we need to first even understand the dynamic and understand how many people are coming into Lagos. I think we had some of those statistics before, but we need to now understand the people that are coming, why are they coming in? There's some who are fleeing, whether we like it or not, they're fleeing violence. They're coming looking for stability. They're internally displaced. They're living in all these settlements. Sometimes we keep pushing them out. They're living in settlements, in slums, in whatever. We keep pushing them out, but we need to do those studies. How many are they?
They actually constitute a threat to
some
the city.
May, because if you don't have the information.
No, it's not just the may, it's the desperate nature. If you have no food to feed.
Of course, if you have no food, come on, you're in traffic. You see this all the time.
Right.
The children are there, they come, they want to wipe you or whatever. The most scary one for me are those blind men. Nothing wrong with blind people. I'm not saying anything wrong with them. We respect people who live with disabilities. But why is it that they're always, if you see them, grown adults, men, always with a little girl, guiding them, begging for money? We see them all the time. These are some of the things. And it's not that we're saying we should shunt them to one side. Of course not.
What kind
what
of
plan? How
social welfare service
exactly can we do that? And so we're glad that, there's a change coming, right? There's a new administration coming into place. And we're really hopeful that these are some of the things we should all put pressure on the government to look into. Lagos State has a long tradition of doing excellent things in the welfare space.
Exactly.
I remember in some years ago, they had a situation where they had a yellow card, red card. If they saw a child hawking or begging on the streets, they would make investigation, take that child in, find out who the child's guardian or parent is, and they would issue the person a yellow card if the child was hawking or doing something during school hours. You know, and then if they did that, if they found that same child again, the parent or the ward guardian would be issued a red card, and then I think they would be prosecuted. You know, we need more of those things. But we need to really begin to take into account the challenges. This instability.
When I came back in the second, my second coming in the second half of this program, I actually said something about the leadership and the followership as well. What should the followers do? The people are there, yes, but we're saying the government do this, government do that.
Yeah.
What about the people themselves?
I think
you have residents
yes,
associations here and there all over the place.
I think we need to get a lot more conscious and a lot more deliberate about seeking to have a better country. You know, I keep saying this, we sometimes are in denial. We're not a people very good at taking responsibility for our actions or for our failings or for our environment. You know, so half the time, with all due respect to those who are of the religious whatever, a lot of the time, oh, God will fix it. It is well. These are things we say all the time. Now, it is true that God is all powerful and he's our creator.
But God didn't design us like that.
He gave us a responsibility. In fact, you know, we're told that he made man and put him in the garden to do what? To take care of it.
Exactly.
So we're supposed to take care of our country, take care of our children, take care of our environment. So I think sometimes too, let's be realistic. You know, Pareto principle, 80-20, in any group of people, usually, you need to have those influencers and the organizers who organize the people. Margaret Mead said, never doubt that a small committed group of people can change the world.
Exactly.
Indeed, that's the only thing that ever has. And in our communities too, it takes just maybe 2, 3, 4, 5 people coming together and saying, we're going to do this. So I think Nigerians, citizens who are concerned, what they can do, let us start from our neighborhoods, let's start from our streets. You know, again, back to this Boko Haram issue. We saw our children, we saw people being recruited, we saw dubious preachers coming to preach all sorts of things about Western education being whatever, and radicalizing the minds of our children, our young people. And we didn't say anything in these communities and the group. And in the same vein, we're seeing these children now, they've come down to Lagos or they're in the bigger cities, then every city in Nigeria, let's not deceive ourselves, in Benin or wherever, we're seeing them, we're looking the other way. And what is happening is, eventually, guess what? In the north, they had the Almajiri. Is that not? And that was the fodder, the pickings for these, whoever was the people that were now infiltrating their minds and radicalizing their minds. In the same vein, what makes us think that these ones begging in the streets that we see today, who are looking, they will not, they're the ready foot soldiers for whoever else comes up with whatever crazy idea to destabilize our country.
So unless we make a move to rehabilitate these kids.
Absolutely. And it will take
that
that
example
concerted
of what
group.
can be done. Schools, community settlements, what are those things? Basic amenities come from providing schools, even marketplace, and the hospitals or clinics, anything that can create a semblance of an orderly community.
I think also one of the challenges, you know, yes, we talk about the followership, but also, you see, you can only be as good as the environment you operate in.
Right.
You know, the leadership too has to set a certain tone. E.g., for example, we were having a conversation earlier about who is a Nigerian, who constitutes a Nigerian. Do we know how many we are? Do we know where we all are?
So those statistics have always been a question.
They've always been a question. They've been a challenge. Even now, we talk about Lagos State. We are not even sure what the population is. Nigeria is not even sure of its population. Let's not. You know, we have the figures that changed. Well,
at least Lagos is hovering around 22 million, which is one of the largest cities in the world. By the way.
So we need to be conscious of those things. But we need to. I think one of the key things we need to start doing is understanding, even at the community level, starting on our streets. Who is on the streets? I know Lagos State has neighborhood watches, for example. Those are some of the things we need to start doing. And then the neighborhood watch can actually now begin to keep an eye and say, okay, this is it, this is it. You know, thankfully, Lagos State is amazing in the sense they're the only state I know of that has a functional emergency number.
True.
Right? As far as I know,
and,
at the national level,
112.
we don't have anything. And I know there have been discussions,
National?
and at the national level, there's
I
no
think they have
national
911.
emergency. As far as I know, it doesn't
Or
work.
was it, no, sorry. What did I say? 911? 199.
199.
I was using the American.
That was some years ago, but I don't think that is functional right now.
I hope it is.
And I don't believe so, because we even a few weeks ago, a number of us NGOs got together in Abuja and we were talking about the same thing. And one of them had said that we've been trying to put everybody together to do this, and it was proving difficult. So I think that's a challenge for NEMA, to step up to the plate and make this happen. You know, so that's one of the things. But the communities need to get more involved. And we need to make a concerted effort, because we're working in silos. All of us are shouting, children are on the streets, they're begging. Or sometimes we're just looking the other way. But the truth is that for those who are concerned, I am a concerned party, you're a concerned party, a few of us should come together and really begin to talk about this issue and advocate
And
with
corporate
our community
organizations should
leaders.
actually do their
should do
CSR in a more practical way by providing
Absolutely.
some of these services that government is unable to provide.
Yes.
Oh, by the way,
partnering
this
with
is
them
when
to
I
do
should
that.
tell you, you're free to call us. The numbers should be on the screen by now. And we need your opinion, we need your questions, we need your observations on situations around your immediate communities and indeed around your country, Nigeria. What do you want done and what are you doing? What are you doing yourself? These questions
Absolutely.
come and we have to
Absolutely.
answer them.
Absolutely.
Really. This is Soni Irabor Live, and we're featuring, and celebrating, is it a celebration? No, marking.
Commemoration or marking.
The 5th year anniversary of the abduction of the Chibok girls. And don't forget too, since that time we've had the Dapchi girls also abducted, and now we have a caller. Hello, good evening.
Is the atmosphere clear now? You can hear me well.
Yes, very clearly. How are you?
Is that LTV?
This is LTV, yes. Soni Irabor Live.
The topic of your message concerning security or insecurity in Nigeria, so that is the matter on
Yes.
the
Yes.
stage now. Yeah.
Yes.
But it's not appearing. I'm not seeing you on the screen. The people appearing on the screen is different.
Can you see me wave to you?
Yeah?
I'm waving to you.
Okay,
Okay, how are you? Go ahead, speak.
The person I'm watching on screen now is not you, the one responding to me.
Okay, all right. Maybe you're on the wrong network, but actually, if you are watching from Lagos Television, is this TV, and then DSTV 256. Okay? Right. So, I don't know what happened there, some kind of miscommunication, but you're on to Lagos TV, and you can watch us online. You can also watch us on DSTV, and it's on channel 256 DSTV, and if you're still on GoTV, it's channel 90. All right? So call us, and we will take your calls. I need to find out, is there a ministry, there was, of youth? Is there a ministry of social women, social welfare? And is there a ministry of women affairs? I'm asking this question in a dumb manner, because I'm not feeling their presence, I'm not feeling their reactions to all of these things.
I think, well, there's the Ministry of, I think it's called Youth and Social Development or something.
Right.
You also have a Ministry of Women Affairs, and, you know. But, you know, having said that, this is one of those challenges. It's such a multifaceted issue, and there are so many aspects to it. You know, there's the justice aspect. We need justice for those who have been killed, who have been abducted. Remember, for example, we've had serious issues. The
Very serious
Abuja
issues.
bombings, the UN bombing, remember, no one has been brought to justice for those things, for example. You know, so we need justice for the slain. You know, we know there's a de-radicalization program going on of those they get them in, Boko Haram, blah, blah, blah. There were news reports and complaints that the current, that some people were within the security apparatus were pardoning these terrorists.
Pardoning them.
Without necessarily allowing him go through the due process. Now, we don't know the full details, but there was a report on some of that. And it's very important for these things to be cleared up because we need justice for the slain. The other thing that we've talked about, the resettlement and rehabilitation of IDPs. The other things, safe schools. There was a safe schools initiative launched in the previous administration. And I understand some work was being done on that. I think the World Bank was also involved. We need our schools to be safe for our children because even after, you see, the thing with the Chibok abduction is it emboldened others. So we heard stories of others going into schools to kidnap children. You know, we had Dapchi, but remember,
because there was no
even before, I think
repercussion.
before Chibok, there was Buni Yadi where they went in and slaughtered those boys in their sleep
Oh,
in Yobe. You know, so we had that. One other thing that the Bring Back Our Girls group is calling for is the launch of a national missing persons register.
National Missing Persons Register. Yes.
So you can see that this is not, all these issues are not, they cannot be carried out by one ministry alone. We need a better coordinated system for welfare, for security, for justice, to make sure for even the rehabilitation. I'll give you an example on the displaced people's issue. You know, it is not clear who is fully in charge. You've got NEMA at the national level. Then you've got the other one, what's it called?
SEMA at the state level?
SEMA is state level, but there's a national agency also that is supposed to be looking after internally displaced persons, migrants and refugees. You know, we don't hear too much from them. We don't know if it's a resource issue, you know, or whatever. NEMA is an emergency agency. So the lines are not too clear, those reporting lines.
This is where
so we need to
us in the
really
media
look at that.
have been actually challenged because there's so many questions begging for answers. And it's our job to investigate, dig further, and ask those that have been assigned the responsibility of carrying out these assignments, what are they doing? What's their challenge anyway? And why does there appear to be nothing being done? Other countries are getting their way or handling their situations better than we are doing. So what's happening to us? Very, very many questions, very big ones. But we'll take a short break. And when we come back, we'll address these issues again.
Make your event a memorable one with captivating and well-organized event center at Lagos Television's prestigious Blue Roof with a capacity of more than 3,000 seats and a fully air-conditioned 750 seats combo hall capacity. Suitable for annual general meetings, government functions, exhibitions, religious activities, wedding ceremonies, burials, musical show, and many more in a well-secure environment. Spacious car park, uninterrupted power supply, and impeccable facilities. Take advantage of all of these at affordable rates.
For inquiries, please call 0808 252 8742 or 0802 282 9898.
Lagos Television Event Center, a tasteful event center for your delight.
Okay, right. Our social media handles appear not to be responsive. No, they are responsive. Send us those. If they're not displayed on the screen, this is our problem. Okay, we'll sort it out next edition, and I can assure you on that. But Soni Irabor, we'll have a few more minutes to go looking at the Chibok girls' 5th anniversary of their abduction. And of course, to me, the future of the average Nigerian child today, is there any hope for the Nigerian child? Why are Nigerians doing very well when they leave this country? But while they are here, they have opportunities. There's so many talented ones. Sometimes they feel as if they are not given the opportunity, that enough opportunity to express themselves. Are we denying our kids? They don't seem to have. Some of them told me, you don't give us a chance to express ourselves. We don't even have avenues to showcase what we know and how to make them sell better. Do you think we are Nigerians? Are they Nigerians?
The truth is, what is Nigerian? Who is a Nigerian? Those are
Who
questions.
is a Nigerian? Good.
Those are questions we need to ask. You know, there's a lot of talk about restructuring. There's a lot of talk about
What are we
whatever.
restructuring?
That's a very good question. What are we restructuring? I had a conversation with a number of people the other day, and we were just talking about the need for us to really rewire our minds and reset our minds. Who are we? What do we want? Nigeria itself, we have an identity crisis. It's very interesting to note that there's some people who are saying one of the former presidential candidates is not a Nigerian. I think we've been seeing that in the news, But it raises the question, truly, what does it mean to be Nigerian? What do we stand for? Who are we? What is our history? These are some very fundamental questions, because until we answer those questions, our children will continue to be rudderless, and they will continue to seek their identities from elsewhere. That is why also it is so easy for our children to be brainwashed, to be going around doing the crazy things and grow up into these young men or young women that are going around doing terrorist activities and being involved in all kinds of crime.
And some of them actually risking their lives to go to so-called
yes. So
greener
those are the
pastures.
things again. And again, a country, much as we talk a lot about the followership, we cannot run away from the leadership. I did make the point, I think, in an earlier conversation today, that the way I see Nigeria, you see, the way the head sits, that's how the rest of the body will be. If your head is not organized, your body will not be organized. And I made the point that Nigeria to me is like a family. It's like a house where you've had decades of abusive parenting, where your parents, imagine this, right? You are in the family, you have mom, dad, children, right? When mommy and daddy are sick, they go to the hospital in London. When you, the child, are sick, you have to go to the village clinic. And God help you, whatever happens to you there, happens to you there. Mommy and daddy will now come and say, oh, but we really care about you. We're pumping money into village clinic. The head of the village clinic may not be equipped to tell anything about it, or the head of the village clinic is not really being very accountable with those funds. That's a very simple and basic analogy, but that is what we see in every aspect
very serious
of our social life. And I always make the point that if our leaders, whether from the whatever, if our leaders had to send their children, if there was a law that mandated, if you're in public office, your children must go to school in Nigeria. They cannot go to school outside of Nigeria. I'm saying public office holders now. We will not be having a safe schools campaign, because the schools will be safe.
Wow.
If there's a law that mandates that our leaders must use Nigerian hospitals, they cannot go outside.
And those laws are
enforced.
Yeah.
You will not see our public office holders going for medical checkup
abroad
in Dubai. Even the ones that are caught undergoing trial by ICPC or EFCC, when they're in custody, what are they doing? They're applying for leave to go and do medical checkup outside Nigeria. Isn't this what we hear all the time? So those are some of the things that we have to really begin to deal with.
Hello, good evening. Hello. Okay, so the call came through.
But
yeah.
I'd like to quickly just touch on something. I know we talk a lot about our security officers, the security apparatus, and security forces. We must also recognize the sacrifices
that they
have made and they continue to make. One of the things the Bring Back Our Girls family, again, is calling for is for proper welfare, equipment, and support for our officers, their families, our police and armed forces. We also have the other groups, the intelligence forces. We also have the civilian, the joint task forces that work with them. They are the first.
And civil defense, by
civil
the way.
defense.
They
are the first line of defense. And they are the ones that bear the brunt of this. Some months ago, for example, there were stories in the papers about some of them, from time to time we see the young, wonderful men and women who are standing in the front line. Some of them are killed. We get the updates on Facebook and on social media. And there was a story of one where the family was crying. The guy had been killed. His body had not been released to them. There was all sorts of things. Then they had to go there, and whatever the situation, we need to really, if you look at other countries, right? Even America, where we're saying the Trump is not he's got his own things going,
elements.
and whatever. But when it comes to their officers and They don't mess around.
No.
Do you understand what I'm saying? So those are some of the things, you know, our police, we need to fight for them to be dignified, you know. Yes, we complain about, oh, some of them stand on the roads, they're collecting 20 naira, 100 naira, whatever, some of the corrupt ones, you know, but I imagine that if our force was very well paid, very well remunerated, and lived well, you go to the barracks, for goodness sake, you know.
It's
So
a pigsty.
so these are some of the things also that Bring Back Our Girls are advocating for, because if your security forces are properly taken care of, properly equipped, you know, well, and remember also there was that whole scandal about when Boko Haram first broke, some of them did not have the right equipment. Do you remember that?
Of course.
You know, so these are some of the things, you know, that we need to begin to, and we need to also hold ourselves accountable for.
Okay, right. So the program has just ended, and I'm hoping that you've gotten a lot of messages from it, especially the leaders and those followers like us. We expect that as you pray for the Chibok girls, pray for your children, take care of your children, please. And let's create a system where everything can work for once. Thank you once again for being with us on the show.
Thank you very much.
Have a lovely evening. And you out there, thank you for making the program what it is for us. Good night. God bless. Bye-bye.